Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're covering a pretty touchy subject, one that many of us, myself included, really don't want to happen for quite a while, and that is the death of the Master Chief. Now, of course, this is a story element that just has to be executed perfectly. One wrong move, and people are not going to be happy, to say the least. Now, one of the ideas that's been sort of roaming around the community and also around my head for quite a while now is the idea of Chief dying, but not actually dying. So his character is retired, but it's still possible for him to return, and honestly, I do think that eventually 343 will go this way. And it's also the way the idea that I have to talk about today is going to go. So the idea that I have links back to a previous video of mine where I proposed a theory that involved destroying the gateways which essentially connect the domain to reality to essentially sort of pseudo-defeat Cortana. If you want to hear that theory, it's a really nice little precursor to this theory, so click the link on the screen right now to go and watch it. So, without further ado, bear in mind this is all extremely theoretical and monumentally hypothetical, and let's begin. So, throughout this game's campaign, or at least for sort of like a section of it, could be Halo 6, could be Halo 7, whatever, you travel around the galaxy on the Infinity with a few smaller frigates, playing as Chief. You're also joined by the Swords of Sanghelios, who are using the Shadow of Intent, locating and destroying various gateways across the galaxy on foreigner worlds. In each system that you get to, you split up, with the Shadow of Intent and Swords of Sanghelios going to one planet, Osiris to another, and Blue Team to the final one. On each planet you fight against created forces, which, bear in mind, will include Covenant forces, and push towards the planet's gateway to destroy it. To keep the gameplay fresh, and to make sure that it doesn't take up too much of the campaign, let's say that you go to two systems, one with 3 planets with gateways, and one with 2 planets. In the first system, all goes as planned. Each squad makes it to their respective gateway, destroys it, and then returns to the ship. You could spice up the gameplay a little bit by giving the player the option of which planet to go to, or maybe even which character to play as. So, for example, you could play as Chief and go to planet A, or you could maybe play as the Arbiter and go to planet B, or Locke to planet C, you get the message. You then go to the second system, and you're forced to go to one specific planet as Chief, with Blue Team and also the Arbiter accompanying you, while Osiris go to the other planet. Osiris get to their gateway and destroy it before you, so you, playing as Chief, are pushing towards the final gateway, to finally destroy Cortana and lift the galaxy of this mass oppression that she's put it under. You get to the gateway, and Chief knows that he can't just cut Cortana off. He needs to actually destroy her, himself, given that the foreigner planets will likely have auto-repair systems that just repair any damage done to them automatically, which pretty much renders destroying all the gateways useless in the long term. That, and also the fact that this is Cortana's actual death, like, this is it. There's no Halo 5 re-emergence, this is it. She's dying here. Chief's closest friend, companion, and voice in his head for a majority of 5 years is dying right here, right now, so from a realistic and also a narrative point of view, there needs to be some sort of final confrontation between the two before one or the other finally dies. There's just absolutely no way this story arc can end without them meeting eye to eye just one last time. Because of this, Chief tells Blue Team to destroy the gateway once he enters it, to make sure that even if he fails to destroy Cortana within the domain, they can at least temporarily get rid of her by disconnecting the domain from reality, and therefore can rearm and sort of prepare themselves for her return. At the end of the mission where you reach the gateway, Master Chief enters it, you see Blue Team destroy it, and the screen just fades to black. Cut to the next mission, and Chief is in the domain, alone, and it's burning pretty heavily on the inside. It's not destroyed, but it's burning on the inside due to the damage that's been inflicted to it by destroying all of the gateways. Because of this damaged state, pieces of like wall, floor, cover, etc. are all sort of randomly phasing in and out, and the horizon is a really dark red, and is very slowly creeping towards you to show you that the domain's fire and damage is spreading pretty heavily. After wandering around for a bit, and maybe encountering a few Prometheans, you finally find Cortana. After an emotional cutscene that quite honestly, I don't know how to write, Cortana turns on John, trying to incapacitate him, knock him unconscious, pretty much anything to sort of eliminate him without actually killing him. Playing as Chief, you have to actually kill Cortana. Now, I'll leave it up to you guys to decide how exactly you'll do that from a gameplay perspective, but the mission ends with John finally putting Cortana to rest, all while realizing he's trapped in the domain with no way to escape or even contact anything outside of it. The final shot of Chief is just a shot of his legs, and you can see him drop his helmet to the floor, followed by his assault rifle, as he slowly walks away and the screen fades to black. There's then a cutscene that's set a few days later, with Lasky stood on a pedestal giving a speech before tens of thousands of people in front of a bronze monument of the Master Chief. It plays out pretty similarly to Lord Hood's speech at the end of Halo 3, with Lasky essentially just saying that we should never forget the acts of these soldiers, many of whom ventured into the Howling Deep and didn't return, of course with heavy reference to Chief. Blue Team are also there, and after the speech they look visibly upset, even for Spartan 2s. The cutscene finishes with Lasky commenting on how safe the galaxy is now, thanks to all the work of those soldiers, ODSTs, Spartans, and of course Chief, who fought the Created. And the screen goes to black, the credits roll, and that's the end of the game. Of course, unless you beat the game on Legendary. If you do, after the credits, the Legendary cutscene begins with the exact same camera angle that we left Chief with, only showing his feet. He walks towards the camera, and then up a set of steps that lead towards a sort of like Forerunner structure that really resembles a Parthenon. There's a weird orange aura around him that starts to get more intense every second, and as it gets more intense, Chief visibly struggles to move more and more, until he finally slams his fist into the floor and he's on his knees. The orange aura is crazy bright now, and the camera pans up behind Chief. He begins to stand up, and it's evident that his arm has changed, and now very Forerunner-esque, with orange hard light running through it. As the camera rises, it's very clear now that he has a new helmet in place of his Mark 6. The camera zooms in on his fist, and he clenches it, then it pans out, Chief turns round and faces the camera. The Gaesh that the librarian put into Chief that she unlocked on Requiem synced up with the domain, which mutated Chief into part Forerunner. Now a true warrior servant, the cutscene ends with Chief stood still in his new Forerunner human crossover armor, and the screen goes black. So he's dead, but he's not actually dead. It's not really Chief anymore. Now, one thing that 343 seem to like to do is to create pretty obvious mirrors between their games and the original trilogy. Halo 4 had a ton of Combat Evolved references, and Halo 5 is pretty much known as the second coming of Halo 2 for a multitude of different reasons, and this idea can provide some pretty heavy references to Halo 3, specifically the mission The Covenant, which is actually a fan favourite. Having a joint UNSC elite task force split up and go to 3 different key locations, all fulfilling their goals simultaneously, would be a really nice little callback, and also having Chief's unlocked Gaesh interact with the domain would also provide a really cool callback to Halo 4. You know that plot point where the librarian accelerated Chief's evolution, and it kind of had no meaning whatsoever in Halo 5? Well, psych, that actually means something now. So let me know what you guys think of this idea. Please keep in mind that this is just incredibly hypothetical, and I'm going to be honest, when I was writing this idea, my mind kind of got away with itself, and I think you can tell that as the video went on, the idea became even more and more elaborate. But if you enjoyed it, then don't forget to leave a like, and also share it around if you enjoyed it enough to do so, and be sure to join me next time, when I'm going to discuss my plans for 2017 in a short little update video, something that I've actually never really done before. So thanks again for watching, guys, I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time.